Alrighty, thank you guys so much for joining us. We are super excited about this class because it is something that is super important in our community, and it is something that's super important in the environment that we're in right now. So having a healthy heart and the things that can come from that, especially the stress, is something that we need to make sure that everyone is educated on, especially because some of those side effects have been termed some of the pre-existing conditions that can greatly affect those that are around us. So we just want to share this information with you guys quickly and briefly. We don't want to take up a lot of your time, but we want to make sure that everyone had this information. So with that, we will get into it a little bit. So what we're actually going to cover in this class, food is medicine, guys. That is where we always start. Lydia is an expert in that. That's something that she delves into. I make sure that I eat well, and I do it as quickly and easy as possible when I do that. But food is where we start. So we're going to start talking about what type of diet is important. We're going to talk about a few other things that you need to do. And as we always do with our classes, then we're going to give you guys some additional tools and superfoods that you can add in to take it to the next level. But before we delve into those details, it's always important for you to know who is speaking into your life. So for those of you that do not know me, I'm Tashina Gonzalez. I currently am a certified holistic wellness coach, as well as a self-development and success coach. I recently got those certifications, super excited about that. But I've been doing health and wellness education for close to 6 years now. And I've been doing all types of personal development coaching for probably over 10 years in the automotive industry and now in this health and wellness industry. And the way that I came into the health and wellness side of it is because I was in the automotive industry and the high stress that can come along with that. I got into a lot of different health issues. And the very first health issue that I came across really was high blood pressure. And so at the time, I was probably on the chart considered clinically obese. I was about 190 pounds. And every single person in my department, just about and we were relatively young, right? Most everyone was like in their 30s, a couple people were in their 40s, had high blood pressure. So it was a huge indication that 7-8 years ago, what we were experiencing was very related to stress. But then if you guys have done any type of research on this, and we're not here to talk about science or all the research, you will know that also there are certain ethnicities that happen to be also prone to it. So I know we have a history of high blood pressure in my family. And again, you can do all types of research as to why that is, but it does tend to be the case in African American communities. So again, it's super important that we get this information out to everyone. So from high blood pressure, I got lots and lots of other things that came after that. When I tell my full story, I had hormone issues. I always had allergies and asthma. I had been in a couple accidents and I had body pain. And so at the end of the day, I ended up with like 7 different medications and all these different diseases. And I just got to the point where I was like, enough is enough. Like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm too young to feel this way. And so I started Googling my way to good health. And it was a slow process. It was a very slow process. And then I happened to stumble upon the company that I know and love and represent, and the education system that came with that, and the access to naturopaths and doctors in our larger educational events, which are mostly virtual right now, just accelerated my learning. The online systems that we had accelerated my learning that I can't even explain. And that's why we're always so passionate to share this with you guys. So now, fast forward to 6 years later, and again, I started way before this came into my life with changing my diet, right? No more fast food. It didn't matter if I was working 80 hours a week. No more living on Monster energy drinks and neon colored energy drinks, because that's what we did in the automotive industry. We started exercising. I personally started like an exercise group within my team. I did a boot camp and lost 20 pounds in 6 weeks at the end of 2014. So again, that's where you start your regular exercise. Right now, I make sure that I get 30 minutes of walking every single day, no matter what. That is where you start with your food and exercise. And then again, I was able to add on things to help with my hormones. I was able to add on things and change my diet so that I didn't have to worry about the high blood pressure. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lydia to share her stories, and then we'll deep dive into some of the details.
Thank you so much, Tashina. And as she said, my name is Lydia Epic. I currently reside in Memphis, Tennessee, and my health journey and my health story really goes back to, I just say Atlanta, honestly. So when I was in Atlanta, I was there for college. I just finished up, and I was realizing that I was in a really, really critical spot. I was about to start my first job going into corporate America, and I realized very quickly that I had a choice. I had a choice about what it was that I was going to be eating. I had a choice about how I was going to be treating my body. And I could use that time to do what was best for me, or I could just use it to do whatever. And I wanted to be really focused and do things excellent and well. And so that started that process of starting to read labels. It started that process of taking out the time to work out, to incorporate different healthy habits. And so that continued on. So I got married, started a whole new journey with him. And then once we had children, then it kind of moved things to a whole nother level, because it was recognizing that this isn't so much a choice that I'm making for myself, but it's also what I'm teaching the next generation. It's what I'm teaching my children. And we saw very quickly that we had the ability to normalize how we view eating, how we view nutrition, how we view taking well care of your health. I come from a family where we have a history of thyroid issues. We have a history of high blood pressure. And so knowing that ahead of time meant that stress was one area that had to be kept well under control. And in those moments when it did flare up and I did have highly stressful situations to occur, that was part of what helped me to recognize that the holistic care that we talk about with our bodies, because you hear a whole lot of people say, because it is true, nutrition is where you start. Also look at exercise, but also realize that your emotional health and your mental health have some really, really dynamic effects on the body. And so as we're talking tonight, that's part of what you'll hear me speak about, as well as just all the different ways that diets incorporate within that. So if you don't have a pen and paper ready, you want to make sure you have that nearby, or you can take notes on your phone. If you have questions, we'll have Q&A at the end. But I'm just really glad that you took out this time to get more knowledge into you so you can better take care of yourself and your family.
So here are the things that we need to keep in mind: diet, lifestyle, hydration, and our work life. So we'll go ahead and start with diet. So you can very easily Google the DASH diet. And what that stands for is the dietary approach to stop hypertension. And the reality is, guys, we know how we're supposed to eat. So I didn't want to put a whole list of stuff down here for you. We know we're supposed to get 6 to 8 servings of vegetables a day. We know that we're supposed to try to get 4 servings of fruit a day. We know we're supposed to avoid sugar. We're supposed to avoid excessive fats. We're only healthy fats like avocados and avocado oil, things of that nature. We know that we are supposed to avoid simple carbs. So really honestly look at your diet. And when it comes to high blood pressure, the main culprit is going to be our sodium. So one of the things that I had to personally do is cut out a lot of frozen foods, frozen food meals, not frozen vegetables. Frozen vegetables are usually fine, but frozen meals, because I led a really fast-paced life, they have a lot of sodium in them. And fast food. Those were like my main 2 culprits that I had to immediately cut out. as a person that had already been diagnosed and was on medication for hypertension at a young age. Now, the other thing with the DASH diet, if you haven't been diagnosed with hypertension yet, then your sodium levels can be around 2,300, which most Americans unfortunately get around 4,000. So just for the normal prevention, make sure that your sodium level is at 2,300. But if you've already been diagnosed with hypertension like I was, you're going to attempt to get it down to 1,500. So how do we do that? We just have to change our palate. It's actually not as bad as you think, guys. We get used to having salt on everything. I usually do not cook with salt, like whatsoever. Like this morning, I had egg whites and spinach and put salt on it. There's salt alternatives that you can use. I will use occasionally a little bit of Himalayan sea salt. You can actually even buy the packets of Himalayan sea salt if I feel like I need just a little bit. But other than that, spices. And a lot of the spices are going to have additional stuff that it's good for you. So like Mrs. Dash is like my everything, right? You can get the Chipotle one, you can get the Fiesta Lime one, you can get the Italian one, right? And then there's just some other spices that are just super good to add all the time, like turmeric. Turmeric is just super good for your body, reducing inflammation. Cayenne pepper is another one. Bragg's has a lot of little just mixtures. And so this is what I put on my food and this is what I cook with rather than, and then we actually used to have a Juva spice from Young Living, but I don't think it's in stock anymore. So that's what I cook with. I really, really try not to cook with any salt whatsoever. If I'm at a restaurant, absolutely will not use salt whatsoever. I don't use any table salt. Again, if I feel like I need a little bit of something, then it'll be that Himalayan salt that I have at home, or I'll bring it with me if I really am going to need it. And you do that for 6 months and your palate is really going to change. And that really is a key to managing hypertension, is that sodium level. And then in addition to that, making sure that the sodium that you do have is well distributed, is staying well hydrated. And again, guys, we know, we know how much water we're supposed to drink, right? You're supposed to drink half of your body weight plus 20 ounces every single day. Find good ways to get more hydration in. You know, on the weekends, I know that I eat a little bit lax. So I'm going to have watery foods. I'm going to have cucumbers. I'm going to have watermelon. I'm going to have a lot of things to make myself even more hydrated. I drink tea. I probably drink 2 or 3 cups of herbal teas. So if you have herbal tea with no sweetener, that still counts as your water because you're actually putting some more nutrients into your body. And just always carry around a water bottle. Make sure that you have a full goal to get the hydration that you need. And again, you can look at the full details. It'll be on the Mayo Clinic. It'll probably be on your website for wherever you go to the doctor. I know Henry Ford. Just look up the DASH diet, print off 2 pages, and start making some of those just suggestions. A couple of other things that were mentioned, like canned foods. That's another thing, like frozen meals and canned foods was another thing that has a lot of hidden sodium in it. So those are some of the things that you're going to avoid when it comes to your diet.
Now, in terms of the emotional piece, because as you can imagine, especially in this current state that we're in, there's just a lot that can bombard you. And if you're one from a food standpoint, where when you tend to stress, you tend to overeat, getting those emotions in check and being in a place where you're really mindful of your emotions is really, really critical. So whether it's, you know, things at work are just going absolutely haywire, or your kids are losing it, or you just had a really tough conversation with a friend that you weren't expecting. You know, in the midst of all of that, it's important to have these moments where you do check-ins and make it a daily part of your wellness cycle. Because again, making sure that you keep your brain keeping your brain as well and as strong as possible is going to help to keep your body as well and strong as possible. Your body wants to be healed. Your body wants to be whole. And so we need to do everything we can to support that. So things like deep breathing, whether it's a time of just deep breathing and just stillness in the morning and in the evening. Those are both incredible. Something I started doing in the midst of my day is I have a little alarm, and it's a little gong that goes off every 30 minutes. And so on the hour and on the half hour, I have a reminder to just be still, just for a few seconds. And it's incredible what happens when you give yourself that time to just be present and to be still. It really makes a world of difference. The other piece is establishing boundaries. I know we've talked a lot about, you're hearing a lot more about social distancing and all those things. So it's not a physical boundary, but it's more so a time boundary. It's an energy boundary. You can only do so much. You only have so much time. So be in a place where you guard that well, because when you're protecting your health, it means protecting all the things connected to you. So last year, when I had a massive season of stress, I just let my boundaries go. I was allowing all sorts of things to come in and to dictate my time, to dictate my energy, and I was just spread all over the place. And not only did I feel it, but my family felt it as well. And so keep that in mind of just when you're establishing those boundaries, anytime you're saying yes to something means that you're saying no to something else. So there's nothing wrong with saying no. Okay, so just know that that's important. Another thing that's also really helpful is taking out a moment for gratitude, whether it's doing a gratitude journal. So just simply having a book or your planner that you're writing in and sharing all the different things that happened during your day, taking a moment at the end of the day to think about 5 things that went extremely well that day, just to be grateful. Another is a gratitude jar, which I keep by my bedside, and I just write down on little sheets of paper just something I'm grateful for each day. Fold it up, put it in that jar, and it fills up pretty fast. And you realize there's so much that you have to be grateful for. It helps to take away some of that power that we allow for stress to have over our lives, to just realize what it is that we do have. So coming from a place of abundance versus a place of lack or scarcity. And then also making self-care count. No matter what happens, this is all you have. Your body, this is it. This is your one shot. So make it count. When I talk about self-care, I know self-care is a really big buzzword. It's been a huge buzzword for probably the last 5-10 years. And yes, it is awesome. Have a bubble bath. Yes, go ahead, get your nails done, or have that time of tea. But realize that self-care is about realizing if you can't care for yourself, how can you care for others, right? So it's going right through all the other ones that we talked about realizing what it is that you have. It's about self-care is establishing those boundaries. Self-care is taking out a moment to just simply breathe. And when you're doing those things, you're sending a very special message to your brain and to your body, and that is that you matter. Self-care connects to self-worth. And when you have self-worth and that self-esteem, then that means you're giving less space for stress to, again, dictate what it is that you are or you are not. So those are some really key places in terms of emotional changes that will make a world of difference in your daily walk.
So now we're going to go into some additional tools that you're going to want to have on hand to support your body. Please keep in mind that neither of us are doctors and neither of us are suggesting that you get rid of any medication, right? You want to use these tools in conjunction with your doctor and recommendations from your doctor. Hypertension is very serious. It can lead to stroke. You need to have the tools on hand in order to support it. I still have a prescription for my hypertension medicine. When I travel to Mexico, sometimes I eat very bad. I have had a time before where I got a really bad headache and I was under a lot of stress and I had to go to the medical when I was in Mexico. So I would never suggest anyone just throw away their medication and try to substitute with natural. Start making gradual changes. Check your levels daily if that's what your doctor tells you to. Get regular checkups and see how these things can benefit you. Again, I was on 7 medications before. Most of them are in the garbage, but when it comes to something as serious as something that can lead to a stroke, please make sure you still have your backup there for as long as you need it. But in order to start to repair your body, some of the things that have been a super help to me is Ninja Red. So Ninja Red is our super food supplement, and this really just helps every system of your body. Everyone needs to be on Ninja Red. It's going to help with so many things, but the antioxidants that's in it is giving oxygen to your cells, which makes your entire body work better. And therefore, for anything that you need, this is going to be your basis. Everyone needs to be taking Ninja Red. Some other things that statistically that you can look up have helped with maintaining what is our normal blood pressure are cinnamon. So I don't usually take cinnamon by itself, but I take thieves every single day that has cinnamon in it. And again, this is going to help with so many other things, just like Ninja Red, including your excuse me, immune system. Another one that's been super effective is Aroma Life. So this is one I would actually just rub it on my vein here, and it's just been known to support as well. And then the last one that most people get a lot of support from as well is Ocotea.
Awesome. And so for, in my case, when I had that season or had that really stressful time, and even now I found it to be very helpful. It is, again, the emotional pieces that were creating a better environment for my body. So these are some of the things that I paired with that have, again, had phenomenal results for me. And these are ones that I will either use daily or I will use in phases and in season. So just as Tashina mentioned, Ninja Red is a huge one. For me, in terms of immune support, it's done great things for me in terms of keeping my body nice, well, and strong. I like to have them frozen, and then that way, once they start to kind of relax a little bit, it's kind of like a slushy, so it's great for the summertime that way. My children enjoy these as well, and they're just a really great way, as Tashina mentioned, to give that overall antioxidant support to the body. So helping to restore and do great things with the cells. Another one that I use daily is MindWise. So if you're familiar with CoQ10, right, that's one that's a very helpful known element to help with the brain, to help with brain function. And so that's part of how I use it. So this is something that I use daily, just helps to, again, keep things just kind of moving and rolling. The other thing that I really enjoyed about it is that in terms of vitamin D, because I know that vitamin D is something for me personally that I want to make sure to keep at a solid level daily. It has per serving your full daily value of vitamin D in one serving. So I always like to keep that on hand. It also has some really great benefits, including turmeric, as we mentioned, as well as lemon, peppermint, fennel, anise, and lime oils. So great stuff in here. On those days where I'm feeling or I know ahead of time that things are going to be just have the potential to be stressful, or I need to be as focused and in the zone as possible, that's when I'm going to break out a Ningxia Nitro. So if you're not familiar with Ningxia Nitro and how that functions, it is a dietary supplement that has green tea extract in it. And so I don't normally consume caffeine. It normally does really just wild things to my system. But when I am using this, because of just the way that it's naturally derived, it absorbs really well with my body and does things. So it helps me to focus and just drive and getting in the zone and doing what needs to be done. Honestly, I can use half a tube and that works beautifully well, or you can use a full tube, whatever you'd like, but that one's a definite handy one. Those are ones that I would take typically in the morning. Thank you. So that's one that I would typically take in the morning as I'm getting ready to start my day, looking over my plans, getting myself just mentally ready, and then just go in, execute, get the thing done. The other piece that was really helpful during that season that I had last year, and I go through and now use it, and it's a part of just I do it seasonally, so it's typically every other month, is using cortisol. Cortisol is an herbal supplement that has a DHEA in it, as well as frankincense and peppermint and fennel and clary sage. All of these are really helpful for just allowing the brain, or at least in my case, this is what I experienced, is that when you're in that place of high stress, that means that your fight or flight in your pituitary gland is just in overload. So normally our bodies are stressed for just a short amount of time. We're able to flee the situation, wherever the case is, and then our body will go back to just a restful, normal state. However, when we're in this time of just a lot of high stress and our body is constantly at that level of pouring out all those chemicals to help our body to deal with the stresses, it can just get really taxed and overloaded. So I found that when I was using this, and I will go through a session of either 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on in terms of getting started as that cleansing process is going. It just really helps with evening out my brain. So instead of being in the bed or waking up in the morning, eyes are still closed and there's just running thoughts going through my head, I was able to move to, I'm lying in the bed in the morning, eyes are closed, and it's just silent. It's peaceful, which was phenomenal. So after the 2 weeks on and off, then I just use this every other month. It does recommend to use 2 capsules, so it's enough for a month's supply. For my body, I found that I can do 1 capsule, and that's more than enough for me. So that ends up actually extending us a little bit longer. So you do whatever fits best for you, try it out, figure out what's a good flow. And like I said, for that one's really, really helpful for helping to bring the stress down, which meant that it was less work on my heart, which meant that it was less work on my family, and everything is just in a more restful state.
So with that, we're going to go into our next steps. So if you are here or watching the replay and you're not yet a part of the Young Living family, your next step is going to get started with our premium starter kit. So the premium starter kit is going to have a couple samples of that Ninja Red. It is going to have that Thieves that we talked about. It is going to have things that are going to help you sleep better. It's going to give you a bunch of stuff that's going to help with that stress level that we talked about, like peace and calming and valor and lavender and frankincense. And if you need any additional information on exactly what everything does and what you get, you can get back with the person that invited you, and I'm sure that they have a 30-minute video that will give you all of those details. But that is going to be your first step because it gives you an introduction to the nutrition, our toxic-free line, and it gives you some of the tools to start attacking what you need to have at this point in time. Now, if you're already part of the Young Living family, then your next step is going to be to order some of these other tools that are going to help your family. And so this is just a little graphic that shows some suggestions of what you can do to detox your home, because having toxins in your home can also be detrimental to your emotions and some of the other health issues that you can have. But if in particular your current struggle happens to be what we were talking about today, you need to get a healthy heart, then you can go ahead and put on your next order Ninja Red. And then the month after that, you can add on Ocotea and Aroma Life and Cortistop and some of those things. So those are going to be your next steps depending on where you are. If you're not yet part of the Young Living family, join immediately. You get a 90-day wellness consultation so that we can help you get from the premium starter kit to where you need to be. And if you're already part of the Young Living family, make sure that you get with the person that you usually work with and craft a very clear 90-day plan for you to work on everything. So in closing, I just want to take you guys back to 6 years ago. 6 years ago, again, I was head to toe miserable. And the first thing I started with was hypertension. But from there, it was every 6 months, I had gut issues. I had hormone issues. I was in accidents. And then, of course, that led to mood issues. And I just looked around and I said, this is not the way that it should be. Everyone I talk to, again, me feeling like, hey, I'm young. Why do I feel like I'm in my 50s when I'm in my 30s? And everyone I talk to were having body parts taken out. And a lot of people that I talked to already had high blood pressure in their 30s. And most of the people that I talked to were exhausted and had no energy. And they were all in their 30s. And I just thought, there has to be a better way. So if you are watching this, I'm here to tell you there is a better way. 6 years later is such a difference. Like, I feel better than I did 10 years ago. You have found the better way, but you're going to have to act. So when implemented correctly, all of these things can, little by little, seriously make an impact and change your life. But you have to start. So again, we talked about those 2 steps. You want to make sure as soon as you get off of this or from done watching this replay, that you take one of those 2 steps, because it will be your first step to getting a better life. And with that, that is what we want to share with you today. We can stop sharing the screen. And if there's anyone that has any specific questions, we can move into that portion.
I'm going to check over in the chat real quick.
Sure. And then we also do have regular classes. So let me go ahead and grab the next class. We have a class tomorrow, which is our home-based business class. So for anyone that's been thinking about maybe having an additional stream of income in that class, then you can join us. So let me grab that there. So Raquel is asking me, and I'm going to answer it for everyone, how much weight did I lose? So I lost 20 pounds doing this boot camp. So this was when I did a boot camp. What I was doing is I had a very strict eating regimen. So I would eat egg whites and spinach in the morning. I would have a smoothie. I would have like a turkey burger and either broccoli or cauliflower for lunch, and I had a chicken salad for dinner. So I did like a very strict, almost like detoxing type thing, and I lost 20 pounds with that, and then I lost an additional 10 pounds after. And again, the beautiful thing about being a part of the Young Living family, and the beautiful thing about that we try to stress so much, is the difference from just going and buying it from a store, in addition to the quality that you won't find anywhere else, is that you get to work with somebody that helps you craft a wellness plan for 90 days to meet all of the needs that you have. So we actually I have a whole fitness channel on my YouTube channel. So we have additional tools that can accelerate that if that's your major concern as well. And then Raquel, did you want to verbally ask another question?
Well, I recently stopped eating meat. I'm just eating vegetables and beans, grains, things like that. I did lose 14 pounds, but I'm just like I'm not taking anything. Like, I'm not taking any supplements or anything. So I don't know if that should be a concern or not.
So like we mentioned, like Ninja Red benefits everybody. And a lot of people have lost weight from being on Ninja Red by itself for 90 days because one of the major things is detoxing your body. So with the citrus oils that are in Ninja Red, that helps your body detox. And a lot of people have just adding that on has helped accelerate what they're already doing a little bit.
Okay.
Yes, I concur. So doing Ningxia Red, again, from the different components that are in there, as well as being that place of staying hydrated, because for many people, not having enough, not drinking enough water daily and doing that consistently can also be part of the picture. So for sure. Does that answer your question? Cool. Awesome.
Okay. If you have another question, you can unmute yourself as well.
Yeah, go for it.
Any other questions or concerns, guys? Oh, Dana, you're asking about a 30-minute. There's actually several videos. One, Young Living has a video on their official channel that goes through all the oils in the kit. For our team, there's one on Vital 180, and then I think like an hour-long video that I have, so I can get that to you. Those options for you. If there's somebody that can't come to class and they're like, hey, well, tell me about this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, for us, we have not only the video in terms of it's a 30-minute set within one of our Facebook groups, we're also in the process of creating a step-by-step walkthrough. So if you're wanting to know about one particular oil and just dive into that, we'll have that available to you.
Yes, Raquel.
Okay, so I just signed on and I'm like know absolutely nothing about these oils. The reason why I used to buy oils was because I liked the way they smelled. But as far as what their benefits are, yeah, that's what I'm totally clueless about. So where am I going to get this information from?
So for our particular team, Vital 180. So there's a
Vital.
whole online training system. So I will message you that website. I think you probably got an email from me, and it has Vital 180 in there. But yeah, I will make sure that I give you all the details in that email. But yeah, we have a complete online training site that it starts out with exactly what's in your kit, how to navigate your virtual office, and then in the next section, it'll tell you about some of the other product lines. And in the email I sent you, there's also a reference guide. So we all love our reference guide. So it's a third-party book that was created by doctors and specialists and psychiatrists, and they can specifically tell you what each oil does.
Okay, so I may have gotten an email from you, so I'm going to look at those because I'm not sure who people are. So I will look for yours and try to get myself acclimated to some of this information.
Yep. No worries. So yeah, so we got a couple other testimonies in the chat. The Ninja Red really helped individuals. So Ryan is stating it helped it with her tummy area. And Stephanie also is saying that Ninja Red was a game changer. Yeah, we have a class that we did all on Ninja Red, and I shared my story. So it was huge for me actually dealing with my iron levels as well. So we can't even talk about all the benefits that there are for Ninja Red.
Any other questions? All right.
We will close this out. We thank everyone for joining us today. The replay will be available in the Facebook event, as well as if you guys have subscribed to my YouTube channel. And everyone have an amazing evening. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.